60 Minutes Rewind.
In 2016 and 17, 25 Americans, including CIA agents who worked in the U.S. Embassy in Cuba, suffered serious brain injuries, causing impaired vision and memory loss, among other persistent symptoms. Now we've learned that at least 15 American officials in China suffered unexplained brain trauma soon after. The FBI is now investigating whether these Americans were attacked by a mysterious weapon that leaves no trace. Over many months, we have been collecting evidence of what appears to be a hostile foreign government's plan to target Americans serving abroad and their families.
For me, it was November of 2017 when I started to feel lightheaded a lot. I was getting more headaches. My wife was getting headaches too.
Mark Lindsay is a State Department security officer who worked in the U.S. consulate in Guangzhou, China. He says that he and his wife began to suffer after hearing strange sounds in their apartment.
Picture holding a marble. Then picture if you had like a 6 foot in diameter funnel, metal funnel, the sound that marble would make as it goes around, and it progressively gets faster as it goes down towards the hole at the end. It's a sound like I've never heard before.
Was this subtle? Like, did I hear that?
No, it was actually somewhat loud. I heard it about 3 or 4 times, always in the same spot, always over my son's crib, and always right before we would go to bed.
Lindsay wears prescribed glasses because sensitivity to light is among his persistent symptoms.
The symptoms were progressively getting worse with me. My headaches were getting worse. The most concerning symptom for me was memory loss, especially short-term memory loss.
Mark Lindsay believes he was targeted because of his work. He uses top-secret equipment to analyze electronic threats to diplomatic missions.
There is no shadow of a doubt in my mind that this was a directed attack against my neighbor and I.
His neighbor was Catherine Werner, who lived 1 floor up. She's a U.S. Commerce Department trade officer who promoted American business from the Guangzhou consulate.
I woke up in the middle of the night, and I could feel this sound in my head. It was intense pressure on both of my temples. At the same time, I heard this low humming sound, and it was oscillating. And I remember looking around for where this sound was coming from because it was painful.
When did you first notice that you weren't feeling well?
October of 2017, I started to get hives all over my body, really bad hives. I woke up with headaches every day. I started to feel tired. The simplest things would just make me very, very tired.
Were these symptoms growing worse over time?
They were, yes. My symptoms would get so bad that I would throw up, or I would wake up with nosebleeds.
She says even her dogs were throwing up blood. Werner assumed her illness was connected to China's toxic smog. She didn't know it at the time, but her symptoms were the same that American officials in Havana had suffered since 2016. The U.S. Embassy there is all but closed as a result.
We hadn't heard about what happened in Cuba. I mean, there were headlines in the news about hearing loss and attacks to our diplomats, but we didn't know the details.
Catherine Werner became so ill, her mother traveled from the U.S. to live with her.
She spent almost 3 months with me. During that time, she also got very ill, and she and I shared the same symptoms.
What sort of symptoms did your mother have?
Headaches and ringing in our ears. We also started to both have difficulty recalling words.
After reporting her experiences, Werner was medically evacuated to the U.S. for treatment. U.S. agencies are investigating, but Mark Lindsay has a theory.
This was a directed standoff attack against my apartment.
It was a weapon.
Of course it was a weapon.
An energy weapon.
Absolutely.
What sort of energy is this that we're talking about?
I believe it's RF, radio frequency energy, in the microwave range.
A clue that supports that theory was revealed by the National Security Agency in 2014. This NSA statement describes such a weapon as a high-powered microwave system weapon that may have the ability to weaken, intimidate, or kill an enemy over time without leaving evidence. The statement goes on to say, this weapon is designed to bathe the target's living quarters in microwaves. The NSA disclosed this in a workers' compensation case filed by former NSA employee Mike Beck. When you look back across your career, is there any incident that leads you to believe that it could be responsible for your Parkinson's disease?
Yes.
In the 1990s, Beck and an NSA coworker were on assignment overseas. Years later, he says, they developed Parkinson's disease at the same time.
In 1996, a colleague of mine, Chuck Bett, and I traveled to a hostile country and worked there for about a week. And I can't say where the hostile country, the identity of it.
Because it's still classified.
Yes.
But it was not Cuba or China. You believe that you and Chuck Gabet were attacked with this microwave weapon?
Yes. I had a pretty good working knowledge of the hostile country's intelligence services, what they do to people, what they have done, what their modus operandi is.
Mike Beck says more intelligence has come in recently, which he shared in a classified briefing with congressional investigators. Mike, you can't discuss any of these details because they're all classified, but in your opinion, does the new information that you briefed the House and Senate Intelligence Committee staff on in any way relate to what happened in Cuba and China?
It's relevant to the Cuba and China cases.
No one has officially confirmed that what Beck says happened to him is related to at least 40 Americans injured in China and Cuba. While Beck suffers from Parkinson's, the recent patients are being treated for the same kind of symptoms that doctors would expect from a concussion.
So follow my fingers.
Dr. Tina Shetty is Mark Lindsay's neurologist.
So Mark initially came to me reporting symptoms of headache, memory loss, sleep difficulties, emotionality, and irritability.
And what did you make of that in the early days?
I was very surprised. He did not have any history of any trauma or blow to his head, but he reported a constellation of neurologic symptoms which are characteristic of mild traumatic brain injury without any history of associated head trauma.
I still notice it, but that has improved when I...
Exactly how their brains were injured is the subject of a study at the University of Pennsylvania Center for Brain Injury and Repair.
Still slightly wobbly.
Dr. Shetty is not part of that study,
And align your knees.
but her patient, Mark Lindsay, is.
And now put your hands on your hips. The presumption is that something happened which caused a functional brain injury of widespread brain networks because he has symptoms to reflect a multitude of brain networks.
What Dr. Shetty describes mirrors the findings published so far by the University of Pennsylvania's study.
They have said that our symptoms are exactly what they saw in Cuba, and that we have the full suite of findings that they had there.
Robin and Britta Garfield are among the 40 patients enrolled in the University of Pennsylvania study. Like Catherine Werner, Robin Garfield is a trade officer with the Commerce Department. He was posted with his wife and 2 young children in Shanghai.
I don't know when the sound started. I do know that it was for months on end.
I was sitting next to Robin, and something I felt like hit me from the left side, and at first it felt like an electric shock, and then it paralyzed me, so I was not able to move or speak.
It hit you so hard you felt like you were in danger in the room.
Yes.
They say the children suffered blurred vision and loss of balance. Your daughter was literally falling down?
Yes, she fell down multiple times that day.
We went on a walk, and she just fell on her face. It was very abnormal. She never does that. And then a second time, she completely lost her balance and just fell to the side.
Last spring, the Secretary of State, Mike Pompeo, confirmed the case of Catherine Werner. UPenn found her brain injuries matched the Cuba victims.
We had an incident in Guangzhou that the medical indications are very similar and entirely consistent with the medical indications that have taken place to Americans working in Cuba.
But for reasons that are unclear, the State Department is raising doubt about the other 14 China cases. The State Department's medical office sent Mark Lindsay this note that says, "We have reached the decision that your symptoms and findings do not correlate with the Havana cohort."
They tried to deny it, they tried to cover it up, they tried to minimize it.
Why would the State Department minimize this?
Because it's China, because we have such a large trade relationship with them. You can push around Cuba. The trade relations are minimal. With China, that's a different beast, right?
State Department doctors told Robin Garfield his illness stems from a baseball injury 17 years ago, which does not explain his wife and children.
It is a very complicated geopolitical relationship between the U.S. and China. So that, to me, feels like why this determination is being made.
What does it mean for your benefits today that the State Department is refusing to call this an attack?
It has significant impact on our life, our finances, my career as well, likely. I have not been afforded time for my rehabilitation. Being classified as pre-existing injury means that I don't have access to paid leave. It also means that after 1 year, my medical bills will not be covered currently.
The China patients have the attention of at least one member of the Senate Foreign Relations Committee. Jean Shaheen wrote Secretary Pompeo, "The group from China is increasingly feeling isolated and left behind by the State Department." The State Department declined an interview, but in a statement to 60 Minutes, it said, "We will continue to provide our colleagues the care they need, regardless of their diagnosis or the location of their medical evacuation." A State Department official told us that the Cuba patients are victims of an attack, but state hasn't made the same determination for the China patients. The department has asked the National Academies of Science to assist in the medical investigation. The FBI is also investigating. Intelligence sources told us that in addition to Cuba and China, Russia is a suspect. But if microwaves were used, the technology is not rare. It could be more than one country is using it. U.S. intelligence is still debating what caused the injuries.
You were in harm's way and you didn't know it.
Exactly. I didn't know it, and I'm afraid that others may be in harm's way and may not know it. I don't know what the future looks like for me, but I would do anything in my power to prevent this from happening to somebody else serving their country.
Americans are not the only ones who've been attacked. According to the Canadian government, 15 Canadians were injured in Cuba, including diplomats and their families.